Hi everyone, Kelly here. Welcome to our final critique for the course. I did finally get everybody's work in, took a little bit of time, but I'm going to go ahead and go through the work. Let you see what everybody else has done, their concepts. Some of you might have seen what was presented in the discussion boards. It was always kind of nice to see the finals and kind of see like where your work is on the level and where other people's work is as well. So we're going to just start off at the top. So let's see, I'm going to just, for the most part, I'm going to present the work just because it's faster than doing all of the video links, and some of the video links don't work. So I'll only be using those like if I absolutely have to. So this one was for the Lunar New Year. That was the logo for that. This was the exhibition for it. So, the ones where you're like a rooster or a monkey. So this year is the year of the snake. You can see this is most of the work that was involved there with the logo. Mock-up brochure. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the logo. I think it was a good start with the logo. I like the lantern and everything. I would possibly make your lantern a little bigger, maybe refine it a little bit more, and use the width tool on the edges to make it a little bit more calligraphic. You can also inverse it, possibly do the Lunar New Year in white, so basically making them be just like in weight a little bit more equal. And then the what year are you can possibly just have like right underneath it, or even if you needed to have it outside the logo, for other collateral. Brochure was a good start. I think this is supposed to be the front. I would possibly make another option where maybe the whole cover is red and then you can inverse the logo, maybe like a whited out version or a gray and red. So this is the brochure that goes along with the exhibit. I'd try the stroke a little bit thinner on the animals because it's making it a little bit muddy. You can see one of the environmental sketches. I think it looks pretty good. Maybe just getting a little bit more detailed with what you want to really show for the walkthrough. But other than that, I thought the concept was really neat. Okay, Alexis. I thought this one was awesome. So she did this whole interactive thing where there's like these little goblin gremlin things, and it's for kids, called the Great Museum Mix-Up. So we can go ahead and just, let's see. Here's the little stickers that I believe would go along with it, the Great Museum Mix-Up, and then I solved it. The mock-up of the brochure. So a little activity kids thing where they can find scavenger hunt stuff, do a maze, like a word search. It looks really good when you mock it up and everything. That's the inside. Your colors definitely came out a lot different, but sometimes that happens. You might have been printing in RGB or CMYK and designed in RGB. That does happen. But I think it looks great. Looking at your size of your text and everything, kind of perfect for what you're looking to do. I think overall awesome. I love the whole idea of the stickers for when you're done. You could always just, like, to save cost on the behalf of the museum, use the same museum sticker here and just put like I solved across it, like kind of like a stamp instead of the additional one. And here's her walkthrough. Oops. Last night, the little gremlins were playing around and mixed up some of the museum displays. The museum curators need your help fixing them. Remember, gremlins leave green goo on their treasures. So look, there's something missing on the top shelf, and then you can see the green goo here. So like all different ways for kids to interact and find the things. It's a really, really cute idea. Awesome. Okay, Daphne. Okay, her idea was fashionably false. So I believe it was on like what specifically was in women's closets at different time periods. How correct were their closets? It shows different time periods. This is the brochure, what it would look like in the inside. Environmental design. So present day all the way back, the specific movies that were, you know, time specific and what they specifically wore. I like the interactive idea. You know, what was wrong with it, pull it and find out. Beautiful. I mean, overall, I really love the whole idea. I think your branding was really nice. Your colors were on point. I love the whole idea with like the F's being different and also threading the needle. And also like really just putting it out there and doing something different than just like, hey, well, let's walk by and look at these panels. You know, also giving it an interactivity aspect, which is kind of what the project called for. So you definitely took it above and beyond, and I appreciate that. The work is amazing. Great typography. Okay, let's look at Elise. Okay, so this specifically is on music, and why songs get stuck in your head. So this would be the graphic, and the little logo. Talks about different things that go on in music, like repetition, melodic potency, predictability, receptiveness, and then surprise factor. You know, things that help be ingrained in our memory. Different ways that you could forget those songs: reading a book, play an instrument, and working out. I loved all the illustrations here. I mean, the gradient fade is really nice. Also, how you did like the noodle effect. That's like the illustration style that I kind of call it. Yep, it's awesome. I thought overall it was really nicely done. Beautiful work. Let's go to Jenna's. Let's see. These were her logo variations. Words meet art. The exhibit would be composed of different pieces of blackout poetry, art hanging to appear as one painting from afar. It's a little brochure. Something like this I kind of refer to as concrete poetry, like when you can see like words and verbiage actually built into the imagery. Yeah. I thought overall it was really nice. I loved your logo treatments there. How you would actually display it was pretty cool. Yeah, just overall really good job. I think maybe on your brochure, if you ever revisit it, maybe instead of like force justifying it, especially at the bottom, you get these really big rivers and gaps in the type. Maybe you might have to add like a word or two and like hand space it if you want it to look kind of natural there. But the overall style is really good. Okay, let's see where to start. So this one, dive deep into our oceans. I believe that's the logo. This one, I mean, it was a start, but I feel like it really needs a lot of work to really convey a final for the level of class that you guys are at. Like the tail is okay as far as a graphic itself, but it needs a little bit of help with the typography. Maybe if you did deep dive, larger, thicker type, and maybe have it be a little bit more even with the graphic there, and then Into Our Oceans can be stacked underneath it. Just like as far as like the mock-ups and stuff, I would go much more realistic. You know, instead of just vectors, I would also have some Photoshop elements to it, because it really just helps connect the viewer to, hey, this is what this is. You know, with PSAs and advertising and such, you don't really connect as well when something is an illustration like this. You want it to be more of like a realistic approach. So this is probably how it would kind of like sit on the wall. Again, it's very abstract, so like I'm having a problem connecting how it might look realistically. And I think this was going to be like a brochure or a fold, so just getting a little bit more realistic with everything. You guys might hear my kids running around. I hear them now. All right, so let's look at this one. Designers who design for women. Shaping women's fashion. I mean, it's getting there. I think the logo is appropriate. It looks very like high-end kind of perfume. I mean, I would just say overall, not using things like dummy copy in a final, like this one right here. Looks like it might be for a poster. You can see it's got like the old newsprint look, but then it's like dummy copy here, like the faux copy. I would definitely stylize it a little bit better to show like the application of how this would look on a wall, how people would interact with it. Just put a little bit more work into it.